Justin, how long you been tattooing for? What would you say your style is? What gets you excited still about tattooing? We talked about doing a redo for you because when I did the initial video, it was the very first video, and I learned a lot of stuff since then. I felt like I owed you a better video. Appreciate you doing
Thanks,
another
man.
round.
I appreciate that.
Shop's located in Morrisville, PA. Endsville Tattoo. What is your Instagram?
Endsville 13.
Justin, how long you been tattooing for?
I've been tattooing for 26 years professionally. A couple years before that, out of my house.
And where did you do your apprenticeship at?
At Obaccio in Trenton.
How long was your apprenticeship for?
So my apprenticeship was sort of like trial by fire, really. I went in there, I did a tattoo in front of them, and then they showed me a couple things and just kind of let me go. Not really a traditional apprenticeship, more of just like I was broken in. Did a lot of tattoo work and learned as I went along. If I was doing something wrong, they told me, or if my machine wasn't running right, they would fix it for me and stuff like that.
So while you were doing your apprenticeship there, who was overseeing it?
Both the owner, Chris, and I feel like I was mentored by Tattoo Mike. He took an interest in my tattoo and showed me a lot of specific things, especially the black shading. He was all about how to shade tattoos correctly.
I know you were in Trenton, and then you went down to Seaside?
I went down to Seaside, yes.
And then after you left Seaside, where'd you go?
I actually quit tattooing for a little while. There were some things that I needed to clear up with Chris, and when I eventually was able to clear them up, he was really generous about it. I ended up buying another shop.
And where was that shop at?
Cookstown, New Jersey, right outside of McGuire Air Force Base. Right after buying it, Operation Iraqi Freedom was declared like within, I think, 10 weeks, and the base just became really, really busy. There was a lot of work happening. A lot of guys going over to Iraq wanted to get tattooed before they left.
How long did you own that shop for?
11 years.
Did you have multiple artists working with you?
Yeah, at one point I had four guys and an apprentice. Yeah, they were good guys, but it was a lot of stress trying to manage all those people at once.
Do you do walk-ins, appointments?
I do both walk-ins and appointments. If people want to have a definitive time, they make an appointment, they leave a deposit. Otherwise, it's walk-ins, first come, first serve.
Now, if somebody wanted to get a tattoo set up with you, other than a walk-in, what's a good way to get in touch with you?
Well, they can email me or they can call the shop. Calling the shop is the best way. Speak to me directly. And then I take credit cards and I take Cash App so they can put the deposit over the phone.
Are you doing hourly work? Are you doing by the piece?
More than 3 sittings becomes hourly work. If I can get it done within 3 to 5 hours, then yeah, it's one price.
So let's get into your work. What would you say your style is?
2 things, really. I love Coleman style tattooing. A lot of people, when they refer to traditional tattoos today, they refer to anything with lines and solid color. What I'm talking about is this stuff. Sailor Jerry, Cap Coleman, Paul Rogers, Owen Jensen.
Right.
These guys had, I've talked to other tattooers about it, and you can tell when you're doing a tattoo designed by a tattooer. It just flows nicer. And it works better, you know what I mean? There's power in those images. Like a well-done traditional tattoo, it's solid, it's packed in, and it just looks really good. And I also love to do Japanese work, like large-scale Japanese work, like sleeves, back pieces. I haven't had a chance to do a bodysuit yet, and I've done a lot of research into Japanese tattooing. I've gone back to some of the original art, the ukiyo-e art, found out what's appropriate to put together. So, yeah.
Japanese style tattoo, but it's also done the right way.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And then, so there's really 2 kinds of people that get tattooed here. There's people that want to come in and do a walk-in. They want to get a name. So I'm really good at lettering. Or they want to get like something small or a cover-up. And then there's people that come in because they like what I do specifically and they want to do work with me.
So when you were a kid, what got you into tattooing? What made you want to be a tattoo artist?
Well, the first time I saw heavily tattooed people was some of my father's friends, and I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I was just absolutely captivated. And then as a teenager, I got into the punk rock and the hardcore scene. 16, 17, 18 years old, we all thought we were little badasses, so we started getting tattooed, not realizing, that in a couple years it was not going to be antisocial anymore. I tell people that I got fired from a job as a dishwasher for being tattooed in like the late 80s, and they can't believe it. But that's what it was like. And I love that idea of antisocial outlaw mystique. I love the idea of living my own way, and I think that a lot of those ideas are embodied in tattooing.
The stigma of tattooing is still there. I think it's a lot less than it used to be. I have a, corporate America job during the day. If I'm going in the office, I got to wear long sleeve shirts just because there's people out there that are still,
Yeah, what I try to tell people is that, like with visible tattooing, I mean, my generation of tattooers earned that. You were sleeved and you had tattoos all over your torso and body before you got your hands and your neck done, and definitely before you got your face done. I mean, when I went to get my facial tattoos, a lot of my friends, people that I respect, were just like, no, they don't do that. You know what I mean? But I was eventually able to find a guy. It's like another guy in your video said, I think it's irresponsible to take a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, put a big tattoo on his face, because really that's going to fuck his life.
I think that some of these young kids don't understand stuff that goes along with that. You still have your first tattoo?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was it?
It was an upside down peace sign. It said war, just some punk rock bullshit. You know what I mean? Done at a kitchen table. With like a Walkman machine. Don't do that at home, kids. That's a bad idea. Back then, I was actually living in Massachusetts at the time, where tattooing was still illegal. To get tattooed, you had to go to New Hampshire or I don't know about Connecticut.
How old were you when you got your first tattoo?
17.
I was 18, and I got a cartoon. It's been covered over for a while now. The tattoo artist was, I believe her name was Raven Cove. She was in Williamsport, PA. A week or two before, she had tattooed Lita Ford.
Nice.
So that was like the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know if she's still around. I actually tried looking her up one time. I couldn't find her. Now, you were exposed to tattoos because of your dad and dad's friends and stuff like that, but did you draw a lot as a kid?
Absolutely. Listening to heavy metal, drawing like Boris Vallejo stuff and like Slayer album covers, Iron Maiden album covers, stuff like that. Eventually, I really got into like lowbrow hot rod art, like the Rat Fink and the Von Dutch stuff. And that's really where my heart is now.
You had the shop for 11 years in Cookstown.
Yes.
When did you move here to Morrisville?
10 years ago in January.
If somebody is actually looking to get a tattoo, what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to research or look into, let's say an artist or a shop?
Really, two things. I mean, I've been getting tattooed now for, I guess, about 35 years. So when I look for a tattooer or tattoo artist, I want to make sure that they're going to enjoy what they're tattooing on me. And I'm going to make sure that when I go in there, it's a cool vibe. Like, I know when I'm welcome in a tattoo shop and when, I don't like when I feel unwelcomed or I feel like they're, and this doesn't happen to me that often because of how tattooed I am, but people come in here and they talk about other shops where they felt like they were being looked down on, where they were bothering the tattooer, and that's nowhere, man. So find a guy that will be excited about what you want and find a guy that you get along with.
Also do your research on the work that they do.
Right. That goes along with they'll enjoy the tattoo they're going to do.
Right. And I think that there's people out there that don't have tattoos that don't actually know that. To any new person looking to get tattoos, make sure you do your research. Make sure you're not walking into a shop wanting to get a portrait done and it's a traditional shop, or you just got to make sure that artist can not can do it, because I'm sure there's artists out there that can do that. It's just not what they like to do.
Right.
What would you say to a young kid that's out there that maybe has some good drawing skills or whatever, that's actually thinking about making this a career?
So when I got into tattooing, it was a different time. Like, you really just had to kind of stand up, be willing to, like, I don't know, be pushed around a little bit, maybe get punched in the face, or something like that, and, keep your mouth shut. And it was a different sort of element. Now, the new generation of tattooers, the work they're doing is insane. And if a new guy wants to come in, he's got to understand that he's going to contend with people that they eat, sleep, and dream about tattoo work. It's all they do. Not their girlfriends, not their kids, not anything else. They're going to grind and grind and grind. They're going to paint and draw. They're going to keep their social medias together. They're going to cultivate followers. That's what they do. If a new guy isn't willing to do that, to eat, sleep, and dream tattooing, I don't think they're going to get that far. It's not like when we were kids and there were 3 tattoo shops around here, maybe.
A lot of competition.
A lot of competition, yeah.
A lot of good artists out there.
And also, like, there has to be a willingness to find a tattoo shop that you like, guys that you get along with, pick up the broom, answer the phone. Maybe, that's how you get in, showing that you're willing to work, that you want to tattoo. That's sort of how it works with me.
So what would you say to a young kid that walks in here, says, hey man, I want to think about this as a career?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would say you got to hang around a little bit to see if we get along. And then if we do get along, I personally charge for my apprenticeships. I'm not giving away 30 years of experience for free. I know what it's like to be tattooing and to not be able to get the machine to work. And there was nobody. Like, you had to figure it out. And if a guy takes an apprenticeship with me, he doesn't have to deal with that. Full access to everything I do, to all my knowledge of machine building, to all my knowledge of how to push a line, to all my, connections when it comes to like ink and supplies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an open book. And I figure, to learn to be a plumber is what, $30,000? Auto mechanic. To pay for an apprenticeship where you're going to actually be apprenticed, you're not going to be bullied or fucked with or demeaned, you're going to be apprenticed, I think is worth it.
Right. So if you were to have somebody come in to do an apprenticeship, what's that usually entail? Like, not duties wise, but like length wise?
I could probably teach somebody to put a solid tattoo on in about a year. I could teach them the basics. Then it would be a matter of their willingness. After that, one of the benefits of working in a shop is muscle memory. I'm tattooing every day. And when you tattoo every day, things just go smoother. Like anything else. If you're cooking every day, if you're working on a construction every day, you just pick up all those little things that keep stuff moving.
So I've been around the tattooing scene, I guess, since the early 90s. And, I've seen the changes in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You as a shop owner and artist, I'm coming from a perspective as just an enthusiast. What would you say are the major changes that you've seen so far in the industry? I
think it's pretty crazy when I go to a convention and I don't hear tattoo machines. I've never actually used the pen because I have nothing against it. I don't think it's appropriate for me to give up tools that I've been using for 3 decades.
Okay.
To try something new based on it's what the kids do now. The quality of the inks, the accessibility of the needles, the accessibility of the machines, guys on the internet. Here's Frankie, the mayor of Endsville. Guys on the internet giving away their knowledge and their secrets for likes. It's different now. Knowledge that's earned is valued. It's like I was talking to a guy today. He said his dad bought his first car and he trashed it in 6 months. He bought his second car and he took care of it because it was earned. I don't think that everything needs to be given away immediately. There are some things that should be kept back unless somebody deserves that knowledge. I'm not going to be a prick to other tattooers and not tell them stuff if I understand what they're asking me, but I'm also not going to go on the internet and say, this is how many bolts I use, this is the needle I use.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I will do for absolutely anybody that wants to come in here and learn how to do a sterile setup. No questions asked. I don't care if you're tattooing in a barn, out of your house. I want to teach you how to do a sterile setup so that you don't spread anything.
Right.
Yeah, that's free to
and
everyone.
That's, even that is a huge change since when I, first started getting tattooed. I remember getting my first, one or two tattoos and being handed my needles in a straw.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, if you need to do touch up or whatever, these are your needles, come back. I don't know if it's a cost thing.
I think that might have been a gimmicky thing.
To get you to come back.
Yeah, I don't know. That never really made any sense to me. Back then, people got to understand if a certain guy told you how to do something, you did it. Just like that. You didn't ask questions. You didn't mouth off because there were consequences.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to be a tattooer, that's what you had to put up with at the time.
See, but that kind of goes into the same theory of, you're talking about how you were treated, right? Same thing with shops. Those shops where it's kind of like you're a little bit maybe kind of hesitant to walk in because it looks a little seedy, they're far and few between now. And, you have your basic shops or whatever, but then you have like these high-end bougie kind of shops. I have nothing against that. I think that gives everybody an opportunity now. So no matter what type of person you are, there's a shop out there for you. Hopefully it would make tattooing a lot more accessible.
Absolutely.
And acceptable.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off.
I think it really is, like I said before, it's like carpentry. Some carpenters are good at framing, some carpenters are good at cabinet making, some carpenters are good at making furniture. There's people that are going to come in here that I'm not necessarily going to vibe with or aren't going to vibe with the shop. And if they end up going somewhere else, more power to them. I personally, I want I want a guy that's friendly. It's going to tell like a dirty joke, talk a little bit of shit, and seasoned tattooer. But not everybody's into that. I mean, I see some shops that are, I don't want to say they lack soul. They don't feel like tattoo shops to me, and I just wouldn't get tattooed in them.
But that's just because that's not what you're used to.
Right. That's not what I'm used to.
So,
whereas another person might think that that's exactly how a shop should be.
Right. So I've interviewed everywhere from people that have been tattooing for 2 years to people that have been tattooing 40 years. In all honesty, I feel like everybody's trying to shoot right down the middle. And what I mean by that is I feel like they're trying to make it comfortable for everyone. We went to the tattoo convention, right? There was tons of people that were doing these new portrait type amazing tattoos, but there was very little representation of traditional, old school.
Or Japanese.
Yeah. And that's not to slight any of the newer, because I think they're amazing tattoos. But I also, when I go to a convention, I want to see a mix, a variety of different things, just because it makes it more interesting.
So I was at a convention last year. I thought that this situation sort of typified some of the stuff that's happening in tattooing. There was a guy tattooing from California, from LA. He looked like a guy that tattooed from LA, and he was doing that kind of work. I heard these two people talking about him at his booth, and the one said, I love his branding, but that's not his branding. He didn't make himself that to appeal to anybody. That's his life and how he grew up. And the art that he loves to do. I don't think there's a lot of industries where you can have that. Like, this is my art. This is what I love to do. This is what I enjoy. This is what I'm about. Like, this whole shop is an expression of how I feel about life and people and situations and things. I mean, a lot of people don't have that.
So I think that there's plenty of artists out there that are trying to make their own unique things. I think that that's what makes it interesting. And I think that that's what makes it cool to find different artists. I also feel like if you're going to call yourself traditional, it should be traditional. There's certain standards that are there for a reason. I think it was RC that said about, traditional, I should be able to tell from across the room what it is.
That's what Coleman said. I should be able to tell from across the street. Shouldn't have to stand on my head.
Yeah. I mean, and there's something to be said about that. I'm okay with the people that are blending and doing their thing too. I mean, I think that that's what's cool about finding a unique tattoo artist. I think you and I are on the same page as far as there's a little bit out there for everybody. The styles have gotten phenomenal, well beyond what any of those guys I'm sure thought would ever happen with tattoos. There's questions about longevity maybe of some of the stuff that's coming out, but I think some of that longevity is being based off of old style of machines, old style of inks. Who knows? Nobody's gonna know. Time will tell, right?
Yeah. But skin is skin. Skin is skin. Skin ages. The sun, bleach water. I mean, pools, ocean water.
Yeah. I mean, sun is the killer, right?
The sun is a killer.
Yeah. After you were on the show the first time, you feel like you got any kind of bump out of it?
Yeah. See, I don't think people were aware of. They saw the shop and they knew the shop was here. And they knew about the walk-in stuff. But I don't think people were aware of how I want to be a friendly tattooer, how I want to be respectful and courteous. They weren't aware of my interest in Japanese work. They weren't aware how much I love traditional work. I mean, certain people were my friends. And when they became aware, I've done some work from the show. I've gotten some big pieces from the show.
Well, I'm glad it brought some type of benefit.
Yeah.
Again, it was at the beginning, it was you and I. You were basically doing me a favor and I was learning. And, I look back at that first episode and I'm not going to delete it. I think it's good to have people look at a full body of work and to see the progression. There's a lot of things that I did on that first episode that I was like, man, that was not right. But I didn't know any better. I taught myself how to do this being laid up from a back surgery.
I looked at that today. I showed a buddy of mine. And I think you're looking at it with a really critical eye. Yeah. You're looking at it like with a very technical eye because it's a good video. I really do. I thought it was funny.
I mean, yeah.
Or funny and interesting or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good representation of you and it captured your personality well. Technically, there was some things that I was like, man, that's not right.
Yeah, I could see your improvement.
But
I could see the improvement in your new work, definitely.
I was, more than happy to do this again with you because, like I said, I told you and Gibby that I owed you both a new video. And I actually hope that there's people out there that are looking for tattoos or looking for tattoo artists that can appreciate it. That's why I don't get real technical. Like I don't go in, I'm not here to steal anybody's trade secrets, man. Like I don't want to know what machine settings you're using and what inks you're using. I don't want to get involved in that. I want people to watch the show to be like, that's the guy I want to get tattooed from. I feel like if people want technical stuff, that should be conversations between you and another tattoo artist, not me, because I don't know any of that crap anyway.
Like I said, there's value in earned knowledge. There's value when you talk to a buddy of yours who's been tattooing longer and he says, oh, this is how you do that. This is how you set your back spring. This is what's going on with your machine. Try this.
So even with you, when you were doing the flick shading, and you actually showed that to me.
Right.
That was just a, hey, check this out.
Because I love doing that.
But I had seen it before. I've never seen it done before. I may have even had it done to me before, just never paid attention to it. I don't typically watch when I'm getting tattooed.
It's a very zen thing when you really, when I get caught up in doing a tattoo and I'm really just there with the tattoo, like everybody jokes with me that my tongue comes out of my mouth,
Yeah.
And because I'm just so focused on doing the work. And I still enjoy it. I enjoy tattooing. I feel lucky that I get to tattoo people. I got guys that I know and respect, man, personally, don't like tattooing anymore, but they make such a good living off of it. They don't put it down for practical reasons, for mortgages and families and kids and things like that. And I respect that they're doing the grind. I'm not like that. Like somebody comes in, they're not bothering me with their ideas. I want to tattoo people.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like what gets you excited still about tattooing?
I still like people. I like sitting here in the shop and talking to people, finding out about them. There's a lot of people that hang out here, sort of on a personal note, like I'm clean. So there's people that hang out here that are clean. We just talk. I mean, we have really good conversation. That's what I like about tattooing. I like the personal element of it. And then every now and then, I get to tattoo like a design that I really, really enjoy.
Is there anything I didn't ask you today that you feel like you need to bring up or you want to talk about?
So I'll be on social media. I'll be on Facebook and some kid will put up some tattoo he did and people just go in on him, just start tearing into him. They're not offering constructive criticism a lot of times. They're not saying use a heavier line or maybe pay more attention to this. They're not bringing their stuff with respect. And it's really not necessary. Like, we don't have to be at each other's throats. Millions and millions and millions of people are getting tattooed now. There's more than enough work for all of us. That's a thing on social media. I can't stand it. Tattooers that just really diss other tattooers.
I mean, I think that's social media in general. I think that social media has gotten to the point where there's a lot of people out there that can post and say whatever they want without consequences.
Right.
Where you and I grew up in the environment of, you talk to somebody like that on the street, you're getting punched in the mouth. Well, you're sitting at your computer at your house, that's not going to happen. So I think that that's part of it. There's just no consequences. But I agree. If you guys are all in the same industry, don't bash, maybe encourage.
And the other thing is that, I can't imagine what the old heads were thinking when we showed up with Biomech and Tribal. I can't even imagine what they were thinking looking at that stuff. And now as a more seasoned tattooer, I try to extend the tolerance that I wish I'd been shown when I was a newer tattooer. Some of the best advice I ever got was from my buddy Furry Couch. He said, just keep tattooing, Justin. Just keep painting. Just keep at it. I think we're going to see soon, there has to be a love of tattooing to sustain a career in this industry. I mean, I really believe that. There's been times in my own career where I've had to take losses. It hasn't been 30 years of making money every day. And it was the fact that I loved tattooing, I loved what it represented, that brought me through that.
I've also seen you go out of your way to work with the customer on pricing in order to, make it a good experience for the customer. And it might even be somebody that you don't know just because you love the tattoo.
Right. I'm a working tattooer. I support my family with this. And as a working tattooer, I have to deal with what I have to deal with. And if I want $100 for a tattoo and somebody's got 80 or nothing, that's what I have to deal with. And most times I'm all right with that. I remember being a kid and walking into shops and they were like, oh, $50, $70, like as a kid, $200, $300. And me thinking, how could anybody ever spend that kind of money on tattoo work?
I love tattoos. I love the people, meeting different artists, of all different styles. I hope that I have more and more tattoo artists that are willing to do the show and want to step up and do it.
It helped my shop. We got word out there. Plus, we're friends. So,
Right.
Of course.
For anybody out there that needs to do some more research, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. And we're going to keep spreading the word, because there's plenty of really good artists out there that maybe aren't the big name artists that people just don't know about. So, make sure you like and subscribe. And Justin, dude, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.